So welcome back, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris, and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. I am finally back with a topic video. Since I went on vacation, I've just been all over the place, but I'm excited to be back and to talk about these topics that I literally wrote and outlined and all of that well, not outlined. I had the topics and some thoughts, but I hadn't done an outline weeks ago. So we're back. We should be back on schedule by now. But I do have some new stuff that's coming up. So right now, Wednesdays is a topic video, Saturday is a vlog, and then Sunday might be a little bit something new coming up very, very soon. So, but today we're going to talk about jealousy and whether or not it's bad for a relationship. This is a topic that comes up a lot for me. Obviously, as a relationship therapist, I work a lot with couples, especially those dealing with infidelity, as well as those that are just struggling with trust and things like that. And so jealousy comes up a lot, and it's often portrayed as negative. And it's interesting because for this video, I actually was looking up like definitions and things like that. And I did not like the fact that a lot of the definition, not a lot, sorry, there was one definition I saw that immediately said a negative emotion. And if you know me, you know that I don't believe in good and bad emotions. Like, I don't think that there are positive or negative emotions. Emotions are just emotions. What is bad is the behavior, right? And so I really want to talk about like jealousy, because I do feel like it's a very complicated emotion. I feel like when we talk about jealousy, there is a lot of like, this is a you problem and there's something wrong with you and you should never feel jealous or anything like that. And that's just not the reality. Everyone feels jealousy in some form or has felt jealousy in some form at some point in their life. And so it's a very normal thing to feel. It's more about where does it come from? What does it mean for you? How do you behave when you are jealous that you need to address, as opposed to trying to stop the jealousy altogether, right? So we're going to talk about jealousy. We're going to talk about what do you do if it's in a relationship and how do you deal with it as an individual. Like I said, there was a lot of different definitions. I pulled up a very basic definition, Google jealousy. And the definition was very basic. It was the state of being jealous. And I was like, well, that's not helpful, right? But I also realized when I was looking up some of the definitions, I was like, I need to look at it from more of a mental health or a psychology like definition. I don't know why, but it just felt like the definitions on like Merriam-Webster and things like that weren't what I was exactly looking for. But I will give like a basic definition. So jealousy generally refers to the thoughts or feelings of insecurity, fear, and concern over a relative lack of possessions or safety. Jealousy can consist of one or more emotions such as anger, resentment, inadequacy, helplessness, or disgust. So that was a very basic, and it does. That's exactly what it is. I did also go to the APA website, which is the American Psychological Association, and I was quite bothered because that was where I saw a negative emotion. And I'm like, psychologists, please do better. But a negative emotion in which an individual resents a third party for appearing to take away or being likely to take away the affections of a loved one. So this one was specifically around being jealous of someone possibly taking away an interpersonal relationship. The other definition I liked was jealousy is a very complex emotion. It occurs when there's a real or perceived threat to an interpersonal relationship. An individual may resent a third person for taking away or appearing to take away the affection of a loved one, right? So completely understand, but it is a complex definition. Again, you don't want to feel like, oh, if I'm jealous, it's bad. I just don't want anyone to feel that way. But jealousy is really like this concern or this fear of something that you care about being taken away, right? And that is very different than envy. Sometimes we use those words interchangeably, and that is not the case. Jealousy is I have a fear of something being taken away from me, something I care about, someone I care about. Envy is the desire for something that belongs to someone else, right? So someone else has the money you want, the looks you want, the family you want, the husband, whatever. Like, this is the life. They have something that you wish you had and you desire to have that, right? So that's envy, whereas jealousy is the fear of someone being taken away or something that you care about being taken away. So how does jealousy impact relationships? And so oftentimes in relationships, there's this concern around what other people are doing, who are they talking to, how are they interacting with these people, and we often try to control, right? When we are concerned or when we are jealous, we try to control. Jealousy is really about the fear of losing something. Jealousy is about this concern that what I have, is supposed to be just for me, I might lose to someone else, right? And that's when I'm talking about relationships in particular. The problem with jealousy, and the reason why people tend to have an issue with it, is because you do not own another person, right? So if a person chooses to leave, there's not a lot that you can do about it. So I'm going to talk about jealousy in more of the behavior as opposed to the emotion, right? Because you can feel the emotion, right? I might feel jealous. Like I might see my partner with someone and the way they interact, I'm like, well, she's kind of cute. Oh, she's making them laugh real hard. I don't want them to be too engaged with that person because I don't want them to be taken away from me, right? And so that is jealousy, because there's this concern of like, a little too comfortable. I feel like a little concerned. I feel a little bit of fear, right? So again, I want to go back into what they said were some of the ways that it shows up. It can feel like anger. It can feel like resentment. It can feel like fear. It can feel like disgust and frustration and embarrassment. All of those things can be related to jealousy, right? And so what is really important is for us to understand like what is behind our jealousy, right? Because I think of jealousy similar to the way I think of anger. It's a secondary emotion. So something is triggering that feeling that you have, that feeling of jealousy. So it could be something that's very clear, something very directly related to something that's happened within your relationship, right? If there has been any level of infidelity, if there's been any level of crossing unhealthy boundaries with people, then there's a reason why there can be some jealousy there, right? It can be based on past situations that you've had. It can be because when you were younger, you could never have anything to yourself and your siblings took everything, right? Who knows what it's about? But recognizing that the emotion is there is the first step. And then the second part is, what is this about? What is behind the emotion? Why do I feel this? Am I scared? Am I angry? Am I embarrassed? Like, what is going on with the emotion that I'm feeling, and where does it come from? Okay? Because when we start to act on it is when we have a problem, right? So feeling the emotion is never the issue. It's I am now acting on the emotion that becomes the problem. So what does jealousy look like when you act on it, right? It can be, again, trying to control. If I have fear, it typically leads to some anxiety. And so then what do we do when we have anxiety? We try to control things, right? I want to make sure that everything is where it should be so I don't have to be concerned that I might lose something, right? And so when you try to control, you try to tell someone how they should or shouldn't be with someone else, when you try to tell them what's okay and what's not okay, which again, there's nothing wrong with having boundaries, but sometimes it can become to the extreme where it becomes a problem, right? Where it's like, I don't want you talking to anyone ever. Why are you looking at that girl while we're at dinner? I'm sitting right here. Who are you looking at, right? And so that's when it becomes like, okay, the behavior starts to become a little bit more problematic, more than the actual feeling that you're having being problematic, right? And so really tapping into like, what happens when you get jealous? Do you try to retaliate even though you don't have proof that anything has happened? Because this can be real or perceived threat, right? This could be a real or perceived threat. This could be, I felt like you might be doing, and so I'm gonna retaliate before I even find out, right? That's when we get into that unhealthy part. When I'm trying to control every single thing you do, when I am reacting in an angry way, when I'm going off cursing, yelling, all of that, when I am letting that emotion dictate my behavior, that is when we get into the problematic area of it. Again, so feeling the emotion is not the problem. It's what you do after. And so I wanna make sure I reiterate, feeling any emotion is not a bad thing. All it is a signal. It's just telling you, pay attention, something doesn't feel right, look at what's happening, right? Just like we have physical pain to let us know like, my arm's a little tense, maybe I need to stretch, or something's going, my stomach hurts, what's happening there, right? It's bringing attention to the fact that there is something that doesn't feel right, and then you have to figure out and diagnose what that is. You cannot trust your emotions all the time. They are there to bring attention to it, but that does not mean they know exactly what's happening in every situation, right? If you walk up and see your partner talking to someone that you've never met before, that you don't know who this person is, and they're all laughing and touching each other and having a good old time, right? And your emotions of jealousy come up, that does not mean that your partner is cheating. That does not mean your partner is flirting. That does not mean your partner is doing anything inappropriate. You can walk up and they can say, this is my cousin. I haven't seen them in a couple years because I moved, but they just happen to be here. This is like my favorite cousin. I can't believe they're here, right? So that doesn't, just because your brain has told you that's a threat, I'm jealous, do something about it, doesn't mean you should, right? So that's where we want to get to, where we can recognize the emotions we have, but we can put some space in between that emotion and that behavior. And so if you're dealing with jealousy, again, the first thing you want to do is to be able to identify when it's coming up. The second thing you want to try to understand is like, where does it come from? How did I get here? Does this mean? And then you want to react to it. Once you have information about where it comes from for you, once you have information about the situation that you're jealous of, and once you have information and perspective on all of the different areas, then you can make a decision on how you want to react to it. Then you can make a decision on, does this mean I need to walk away, or does this mean I need to stay? Does this mean I need to work through it so I don't feel it so strongly and it doesn't take over, right? So the emotion is not the problem. Sometimes it's the way that we handle it. So I think it's very important for us to get access and understand more about that part of us and more about where that comes from. And then from there, a lot of times as you understand, oh, this isn't even about this situation. This is about some stuff that happened to me years ago. Or this is because he's been unfaithful before. So I may need to have some boundaries around some of these situations. We may need to talk about what that looks like for me to feel more comfortable and grow that trust within our relationship. So that is a quick spill on jealousy. It's a lot more I can go into, but I just want to give like some information around, is jealousy bad and how do you deal with jealousy in relationships and understanding more about it. It does not mean that there is something wrong with you. That does not mean that you don't love yourself or care about yourself. It's just a matter of like something is being triggered and you need to kind of pay attention to what that is. And the last thing I want to say about jealousy is, again, jealousy is the emotion, but the behavior sometimes we use as control. And it is extremely important to understand that you cannot control someone into not cheating on you. That is not a thing. If someone is going to cheat, they're going to cheat. If that is a goal of theirs, it just is. Now, do I believe that there are ways that you can affair-proof-ish your relationship? 100%. I think there are a lot of things that you can do to help your relationship make sure that you neither of you are cheating or with someone else or do something that's against the boundaries in a relationship. But controlling the behavior of someone else is not it. Both people have to be on the same page. Both people have to be in agreement of this is how we handle ourselves. And both people have to understand the goal of the boundaries, okay? So trying to control and stop someone from doing something is not how that works. You have to allow people to be who they are and then know how to walk away if they do something that is against your boundaries or something that you are not okay with. And that is a whole other video. So yeah, so those are just my thoughts on jealousy and understanding more about it. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, all the things, because it really does help my channel grow. And I will see you next time. That's all. Bye.